But they see when it goes to
I got bad news.
Well, I just turned it down.
That would go away.
This one I turned it down about 3 hours ago.
See, but Lindsay and Denise are probably very happy in there
I
because
know.
they've been freezing in their offices all week.
Yeah. Well, that's, they came in for a cold request, so I'm assuming that he actually meant to do it in there, but he did it everywhere.
That's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you. Everyone ready to go? We've got Pete and Tim.
Pete and Tim are here.
Okay. Recording has been started. This is an executive session of the WIFA Long-Term Water Augmentation Committee. It is now 1:07 p.m. We have, just as a reminder, 53 minutes left to our 2 o'clock scheduled time, but if we're still going at 2, I think we'll still going as long as people are available,
That's right.
if necessary. I will call the roll. Buchanan Davis.
Present.
David Beckham.
Present.
Drew John.
Present.
Patrice Horseman.
Present.
Pete Kim.
Here.
Tim Tamura.
Here.
Cook is here. For the record, I'll note the following individuals are present in addition to the committee: Evan Kaplicki with Nossaman and General Counsel Joe Satelli to provide legal support, Jason Fort with HDR, Director Chelsea McGuire, and Procurement Officer Brenda Prevost to provide technical support. We'll turn it over briefly again to Joe Satelli for our confidentiality reminder and session logistics.
Thank you, Chairman Cook. A third time and last time I will shout these things at you all, but Arizona's open meeting law requires that we remind everyone in attendance the information is confidential. Failure to keep it confidential is a violation of the open meeting laws. Board entered executive session for agenda item 5 concerning the long-term water augmentation solicitation for procurement, evaluation of offers, and award recommendations. And this executive session is for the dual purposes of discussing information required to be maintained as confidential and to obtain legal advice from the authority's legal counsel. All is also authorized under ARS 38431.03A2 and A3. And I may have missed it, Chairman Cook, but we did start at 1:07 p.m. for the record in case I missed that. So
I got that.
back to you then.
Okay, thank you, Joe. During this executive session, the committee may discuss the merits of each offer within the competitive range and recommended for our review by the evaluation committee. So all 5 that already discussed in other agenda items earlier today. Before we begin our review of the offers, we have a preliminary decision to make concerning the type of legal action to take when we return from the executive session. I reviewed the options with legal counsel, and there are 2 paths we could take. So those have already been vetted in that way, and it's up to us which one of them we would prefer to do. Option 1 involves a motion and vote in regular session on each offer as agendized. So we would go out of here, take them one at a time, and vote to recommend that one that we're considering for recommendation of the board or not. And the consequences of that, if it's not obvious, is that everyone will know which, if any of the 5, are going to our board next week. Option 2 entails instructions to staff here in executive session. Of course, no votes or anything like that, just instructions to the staff here in executive session as to which offer should be advanced to the board for consideration, followed by a motion and vote in regular session authorizing the staff to proceed as instructed in executive session. So there would be, the consequences of that would be, is it would be, continue to be confidential until the board meeting next week when they vote on these projects, whichever ones we forward them with our recommendation. My understanding there is that they will be one at a time.
Yes, that's the most likely.
So,
outcome, yes.
so if we decide on option number 1, there's no detail provided as far, and it's again is under the cloak of confidentiality because the solicitation is still in place, the procurement is still in place until the board makes a decision on an award.
That is correct.
This is an option that we have before us. If we take option 2 and we take them one at a time, everybody will know So now we get into the fun part, which is project by WIP, project by project, to discuss the merits and ask any further clarifying questions that we may have in our mind between, as I think Joe and Chelsea set up for us. What our job is even though the evaluation team has done their work and said, well, these 5 that they've brought to us today technically meet the requirements of the solicitation, we need to decide that in aggregate, we agree with that opinion, and do we have mitigating factors that we want to apply to that, or that we disagree with the conclusion that the evaluation team has. They've given us all of their pre and post Q&A session with each individual applicant, all of their rankings and their ratings. They've established the competitive range for these projects. And even though we said we didn't need this, I'm going to do it anyways. That if we had 30 projects that we were considering, we've all been through things like this before, and you kind of see these natural dividing points, either quantitative or qualitative, and you draw a line or lines, and you say these go in this category and these go in that category. We only have 5, and there's no natural line. The line is kind of at the bottom. It's the 5 that made it and the 1 that doesn't. And so the competitive range is, it's not necessary to establish a competitive range at the lower point. The bottom of the competitive range is basically not any higher than this. That's what that means. So it only is as low as it needs to be. You don't have to draw a line and say everything above 500 we're going to accept, because you don't need to have the number there. You only need to say whether it's above the line, and by definition, the one with the lowest score that's above this line of acceptable or not establishes what the bottom of the is. Anyhow, I just had to throw that in there because it was an aha for me. So our job is to determine, do we agree with or disagree with the committee's recommendation that each of those 5 meets the requirements of the solicitation, such that it's eligible to move forward. And then for each one, and we don't necessarily, I'm not saying that we have to go in order and do that, but then for each one that we do believe that we agree with the evaluation team, that do we have any mitigating factors or other considerations about why we might decide to not move forward with the project that the committee has recommended. Okay, did this the hard way. Okay, so Axion Fengate Consortium. Anyone having any feelings that maybe this project should not be considered to be in the competitive range, and having met the requirements of the solicitation based on the information that we've been given to review?
This is a rock and roll.
Yeah,
This is
I
a legit.
think they all meet them.
All right,
legit.
so
My concern about groundwater though, groundwater storage,
we're not on that one yet.
you going one at a time?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
I just doing them as whole.
Just to make sure. We're
Okay.
doing one at a time. That's
Accionis
okay.
passes it.
We're not voting, we're not voting.
I know we're not voting.
I'm just asking if there's any question or any discussion that anyone has on each one of these as to whether or not they are not feeling
Okay.
completely comfortable.
So you're starting with the first one?
Right? And we just did the first one.
Okay.
So we're now on B, EPCOR Water Innovation Partners Ocean Water. Is anyone not feeling completely comfortable or has some open remaining questions about whether or not EPCOR Water Innovation Partners Ocean Water WIP, the recommendation coming from the evaluation team is that it meets the requirements of the solicitation? Anyone here not feeling comfortable with that?
The big question,
Yes.
the big question is, I don't think it's a question, it's not an impediment. I want to make that clear at the outset, but, still, but I think they even understand that there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of players, You got several different states and you got a couple different, countries. So, but, you know, obviously those are the things that hang in my mind is, we appreciate how hard of a lift some of the stuff and exchanges and different things like that. But I think they've given me enough confidence already that they understand that, and not, certainly enough to go to the next phase.
Yeah.
But that's important to me.
And you're referring to Epcor Water Renovation Partners, Ocean Water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we could ask the same question about AFC
Yeah,
as
AFC as
well. And we could also ask the question, and just because I'm trying to draw the line and say, okay, we're done with that one, let's move on to this one. We can always go back if a new thought comes to our mind. So here's one. Does it make sense for us to have two ocean water projects, particularly because they may be, because of all their options that they have, maybe stepping on each other's toes, and attention of permitting agencies and things like that. But on the other side of that coin, there's what you just brought up is, well, it is a competition in that sense, but the complexity of these types of projects and all the moving pieces, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, even what any of us might perceive as the best project out of all five of these may not make it.
Yeah.
And what do you do if that project may not make it? In my opinion, ocean desal is of some kind is an absolute mandatory requirement to be included in whatever it is we do. And if we don't have a plan B, we're lucky to have two that have been recommended to us from the evaluation team, so that if one of them happens to fail, we still have at least the other one. Maybe both will fail, God forbid, but definitely that's my.
And don't you think Mexico will go with anything we do? Because they need help bad, and I think they'll jump on any chance they have to help the water. So any of it involve Mexico, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal.
Well,
California might be a little more.
maybe not. So, and I don't. We can talk about this as long as you want, but I've been involved in a couple of Mexican projects, and the government changes frequently. Number one, there's lots of corruption in that country, and they get easily offended. So no, they will not, just, in my opinion, not just take anything that we come to. The culture there is very classical oriented, and the way that you treat people and how you talk to them and all of those things are very, very, very important, and they can get offended. And the two projects that I've been involved on in Mexico, both didn't happen because of corruption issues, or somebody said something that somebody was offended by, and the whole thing just went away. So this is one of those many complexities. But so I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but I do want to push back on the notion that they're desperate or whatever we'll do for them if we court them.
My readings earlier, and I can't find it, I was trying to find it. Seems like maybe it's multiple projects, but at least in one of them it said it would require a law change in Mexico. Does that ring a bell then? I almost thought I read that somewhere in that.
I think there are potential legislative issues with many of these. Mexico, yes, but I think also even potentially related to even WIFA's current legislation, there are some elements of that would have to be considered as part of any of these. I mean, even just the idea that they all include exchanges is, there's a significant amount of work that goes into that process, both framework-wise as well as potentially legislatively.
And that may be the context
Yeah.
that was relevant, or
Probably.
where you're remembering that.
I fully suspect that every task order that you issue will result in lots of legal tracking down, so, yeah.
Which that goes to an earlier comment in an earlier item that kind of veered into this, exchanges, Colorado River. In my mind, that is not an impediment to make a stop, but it certainly gives me a lot of heartburn when all of these, some sort, it feels like, has some sort of Colorado River nexus, and where we're at in the Colorado. I mean, if the river's crashed, what good does it do
Right,
to have a
definitely.
paper water right, you know? So we might be investing in wet water for somebody else and getting nothing in return type of thing.
And
But-
that was definitely an observation made by the evaluation committee on all of these as well.
Gratefully, the time it takes to evaluate these, hopefully, fingers crossed, something will happen. Yeah, on the Colorado River, but we're in such a pessimistic time, it feels like, at least for me. But anyways, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, it is, I think, apparent, at least to me, a little bit on, particularly with EPCOR, recognizing that particular point and the discussions coming from Mike Pierce about first water
Yep.
and things like that is important to have. And then, but to Jason's point, an exchange on the Colorado River is not easy, even if everything was cool and there's plenty of water because of forbearance issues and things like that. And intra-state priority. Each state has their own priority system, as you know, and they're sort of relative to each other, but not really. And so there's many, many folks who can object between point A and point B in an exchange that, no, that belongs to me instead of you. So it's hard to do no matter what, and the state of the river just makes it harder. Yeah. Okay, so where we were was, I think, as we entered into the discussion about with B, EPCOR ocean water, we seemed, everyone, not to have any burning desire or lingering discomfort on 5A, or the conclusion of the evaluation team. And I think we were moving toward that on 5B, that everyone sitting at the table does not have some undisclosed unhappiness or discomfort with the recommendation of the committee. You can always change your mind before next week, but as it right now. Okay, can we move to C? So I think C, for just absolute clarity, this is Cadiz. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is surface water?
No,
Other water sources.
Other
water.
sources.
Other water
They're
sources.
referring to as other/groundwater. These. So 2 questions on this one. So question number 1, similar to A and B. Does anyone have some?
I would like to make a point of clarification. I think we do have the way that the evaluation committee did note this in their evaluations. The classifications that they have, the other water is the groundwater storage
Yes.
offer, and surface water is how they've classified Cadiz.
Cadiz.
Okay, that's what I thought when we were back in here on number 2.
I wanted to go back and check that,
How
yeah.
do they do that? I thought it was it.
It confused us right from the very beginning as well. It's surface,
Where are they getting these water then? They're calling it surface water.
I think their approach is that via the exchange.
Correct.
They're considering it to be surface water as an
Because
exchange.
they're utilizing the exchanged water to replenish, right?
Yes.
Yes, to replenish the well fields. Therefore, they're not calling it a groundwater project, it's a surface water project.
Yes.
And the Cadiz
Yes, very.
well is how you're accessing that
But the
surface.
source of the water, they're
It's
saying is
surface.
surface water, which
That's
would be
right.
consistent with the solicitation, which asked you to put your project category based on the
Yes.
source of
That-
the
that-
water.
And that is, but that, it is confusing, it
Yeah.
was confusing to the evaluation committee as
It
well.
was,
And
yes.
then them referring to the state water project based one and collecting excess runoff and things like that they had nowhere to put.
As other water.
As they were referring to that as groundwater all through that presentation.
Yes,
Yes, they did.
Underground storage, you guys,
Yeah,
not
yes,
they
groundwater.
did.
That's right,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
right.
but it
Yes,
came
they
from
did.
surface just like Cadiz does.
It
They
came-
did
yeah,
more.
it is surface water, but they were calling it groundwater the whole time.
I was gonna, yeah,
Replenishment rate
it's
of
very-
withdrawal.
disingenuous, quite frankly, to call groundwater surface water.
So to be honest,
And
We'll let the staff get, and the consultants get the labels straightened out. But let's do as we are proceeding and ignore what it says on our piece of paper here. The Cadiz project want of a better word.
Surface.
Which is a surface
Surface
water
water.
classification.
Water.
They're calling surface.
I will
They're
be sure
calling
to
it
clarify
surface.
instructions before
Yeah.
leaving on all projects regardless of
Correct.
agenda item.
That's,
So.
that's C,
That's
that's
crazy.
5D in our agenda, okay, so, but that is the Cadiz one. Two questions on that. Number one, like on the other two that we already discussed, does anybody have any lingering or unresolved uncertainty or disagreement with the conclusion of the evaluation team that this project meets the requirements of the solicitation?
Well, I have a lot of uncertainty still on what the project is. Maybe somebody can, who's smarter than me, give me the 30-second.
Where they get the water to replenish?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
I'm
what
struggling.
I understood is that the replenishment was coming from the surface water to replenish the groundwater.
Surface water is
Right.
coming from
These
where?
project?
Yes.
Yes.
And
They're
where-
they're extracting,
Nevada?
they're extracting, water using wells.
The
out
surface
in
water
Cadiz,
depends on the
Yeah.
weather.
And they're
And
using
how many
surface water.
groundwater projects have actually helped a big amount in Arizona? We got them all over, but they draw more than they replenish it with because of the weather.
Where's
That's
the
my
surface
concern
water
about
coming
groundwater.
from? Is it Sierra Nevada? I couldn't figure it out.
I don't recall offhand where
I
where
just
they're
couldn't figure
recharging
it out,
from.
even when I read it, I
Yeah.
was kept trying to figure it out.
I mean, and
I
it
like
sounds
the
like,
Mojave Desert.
It is within the basin,
Damn, there's water there?
within the local basin, I think is the target for where their recharge comes from.
Where the- I'm just confused.
So we had this problem in Cochise
and then
County.
we would exchange,
And it would go to the California Aqueduct, and then it would be used as exchange for Colorado
so
River.
they would get the storage credits in exchange for Colorado, for us getting Colorado.
They would get water in the aqueduct, the extracted water from Cadiz would go to the California Aqueduct, which would then be exchanged for Colorado River.
Okay,
That's why the last sentence is why they're counting it as surface water.
Surface water.
Because we're getting California, we're getting surface water from the Colorado
so
River.
it's not going underground?
Yeah, they're storing it under.
It's already there.
It's already
It's
underground.
already there.
It's
storage that's
groundwater,
already
it's
there. They're gonna
groundwater.
pull it out, put it in the canal in exchange for Colorado River. Okay,
Then
sorry.
they're saying it's being-
I'm sorry.
Then they're
I
saying
was
they'll
struggling.
replenish it with surface water.
They're calling it surface water.
There is a minimal element of recharge that goes with it.
Is it, but it's already being recharged?
The recharge is, I believe, natural recharge.
Well, that's the,
But if
we
you
all
take,
know that's minimal.
Yeah.
but yes, if you take out more than the recharge, then what you've done is you've
Might
taken
be.
away the groundwater, so, yeah.
It is an overdraft.
So it's almost kind of like a Harquahela type
That's what it
situation?
sounds like.
That's what it
doesn't
sounds like.
Sounds like Harquahela.
Yes.
Or
Helping to build a conveyance for Harquahela to the valley type of
Exactly
thing.
what it
but-
sounds like.
Tim's got his hand up.
Just, you're all landing on it. It's groundwater pumping in California and surface water coming to Arizona. And we have to ask ourselves, do we care that they overpump groundwater in California?
Politically, we do.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Let's take question number one, as far as.
I don't, to be clear. I absolutely don't.
Good for you.
So question one again, and then that's part of question two, that type of thing, so, good, thank you, Tim. But question number one again, any undisclosed discomfort with, I'll find 5 more ways to describe this before, with the conclusion of the evaluation team that
I don't think mine's
this
undisclosed.
project meets the requirements of the solicitation.
Are you on the other water sources?
I'm on surface
Still on
water.
surface
Still
water,
on
which is still
Cadiz.
We haven't had
surface
question
water.
number
Surface
two.
Let's call it Cadiz, okay,
Was there-
okay.
Because we haven't had question number 2 yet, which is, are there any other mitigating factors or considerations?
Well, was there, in the solicitation, does it talk about something that's sustainable or renewable? And do we consider this sustainable and renewable?
On screen.
That's a question for Brenda.
On screen, you've got the information about them.
This is I pulled this up from the offer itself to answer the question, where is the recharge water coming from? It is surplus water that is available from various California providers. That's what figure 3 indicates.
This is for Cadiz or for the other?
This is the Cadiz.
Cadiz also had excess water recharge to the aquifer, similar to the one we haven't talked about yet.
It is, but it's not founded on the premise of
Correct.
recharge water,
I-
right?
This-
The
this
other
may
one
or may not
is more
I think
founded
the
on the
ana-
premise of
The
recharge
analog
water.
is, this is more Harquahela, the other one is more Bartlett. That's how I distinguish them in my mind.
That's a good
I
way.
don't know how accurate that is, but
It sounds like, to me, there has been some significant work in studying this already, and why they kept saying that this is a shovel-ready job or project is because they've understand it, they developed it, they're there, now they're just waiting for probably that last piece, maybe some partners, finances or whatnot to get it over the finish line in my mind, but.
And I guess with respect to the question about whether sustainable is specifically part of the solicitation, it actually references back to the project evaluation criteria, statutory evaluation criteria, which is the ability of the project to provide multiple water supply development benefits, reliability and long-term security of the water supply, existing and planned conservation, best management practices, and water management programs. There's not an explicit, there is a reference to the fact that these water developed through these programs could be considered as part of the Assured Water Supply Program. There's not an explicit reference to renewability.
Yeah, your statutory criteria are primarily focused on the word reliability. There's 3, I think, there's 19 statutory criteria that you're looking at, 18. 3 of them mention reliability. The only time that sustainability is mentioned in the solicitation is the initial introduction, which is that WIFA is looking for sustainably imported water sources up to 500,000 acre feet. So it's not a specific evaluative criteria. From sustainability, reliability is in several areas.
Well, in this case, I think reliability, I don't know, I think I might have some concerns there.
Can't go hand in hand. It's not sustainable, it's not reliable.
Well,
It can't be reliable if it's not sustainable.
well, can
I was gonna say it's
we
not
bifurcate the two? And this gets, I think, back maybe to what Tim was talking about a minute ago. And maybe a more direct way of saying, do we care? Do we care that California's got an overdraft for pumping groundwater? So sustainability and reliability. My understanding of that proposal was that the project proponents believe that they have the ability, if not the right, to pump 50,000 acre feet for 100 years or whatever it is. So is it reliable? I would say, yeah, it's reliable because they have the ability to do that. So sustainability question is, well, does that ever get replenished? How often do the things on the exhibit that we just saw of excess water and things like that going back into that aquifer, how often does that happen? And that's not, I don't think the project proponents believe that that's their obligation to do that. And if they have subsidence and all kinds of other bad stuff happening in California, well, that's California's problem as far as sustainability goes. So in my mind, I have to force myself to say it's reliable to us. It's not necessarily sustainable for California, depending on what they do.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful. So I appreciate you walking through that, but I think it goes to David's earliest comment about perceptions issues too, and I don't know, we might be bringing on fights that are yeah, exactly.
You know, when you talk about sustainability, and that's not a criteria, everybody talked about whether it was drought-proof solution. So to me, that gets back to sustainability. And I think given the fact that, and this is a situation that what's coming out is not, the recharge is not filling out what's coming out, I think there is a question about sustainability and reliability. And I don't see the demarcation, I'm sorry, between Arizona and California. You know, here we are talking about partnerships and wanting to do partnerships and share allocations on the river and this, that, and the other thing. So I think if we basically say, we don't care if we run California dry, it's kind of counterproductive to the partnership we're trying to create. Sorry, but that's how I feel.
Patrice, I appreciate that comment because I did neglect to mention the criteria I always point to, which is the 18th is other criteria that WIFA may deem appropriate. So to the extent that this committee and the board would like to elevate sustainability in their review of these WIPs, that is the statutory criteria for where you would go.
Is it something we can do, I'm just gonna walk this into the air, that between now and next week, understand from the proponent whether this is a groundwater, would result in groundwater mining or a balanced recharge and supply in that basin? So we'd really understand 100%?
Evan, I might lean on you a little bit for this too, but my inclination is that the procurement process is sufficiently locked down at this point to preclude those types of communications. Evan, and then Jason, I'd be curious on your thoughts, and Brenda, yours as well too.
Can you repeat the
I
specific
think
question?
The question is, can there be outreach, whether it's through staff or Brenda, to a team for additional clarification on their proposal at this juncture?
Yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't think, no, because the scoring's all been done.
Right, the evaluation is done. Jason and Brenda?
Agree.
I also don't think there's an assertion at any point in their proposal that it is net neutral.
I didn't see it, yeah,
No.
but they call it surface water too, so, you know, that's, doesn't it make you uncomfortable? You know, that's a head swivel.
Well,
We did, for this, when this came up in the course of the discussion with the evaluation committee, it was decided and noted that the proposers were given the opportunity to self-select which
Oh, sure, of course.
which
That's why I
category they
thought-
were categorizing their
I thought
proposal
capturing
in.
such water out of the Sierra
So-
Nevada would be
well,
called
again,
surface.
because we're getting surface water, that's probably why they did it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Or have one of each.
That's, could be.
Could be, or could be something else.
They brought it to the surface.
Tim's got his hand up again.
Oh.
Tim, do you want to share your thoughts?
Sure. So I fully respect if folks want to have sustainability as part of your decision making, and I'm not trying to argue against that. I don't think they make any claim of it being sustainable. I think they make a claim of it being reliable. And my experience, groundwater pumping is pretty darn reliable. It may result in groundwater declines. It may not, depending on what type of replenishment occurs. What I'll say is I know and however we land on this one, I'm going to be good that we've had a good thorough discussion about it, but there will be as much or more pushback on ocean desal, major transmission pipelines, what type of energy is going to use. One of the teams said they're going to do renewables. The other one said renewables exist. I think this is one example of the fact that none of these are going to be easy, and they're all going to get tremendous perception and pushback. I land back on does it meet the criteria, and is it potentially viable?
So, David.
We're gonna get pushback, we know, on any of these
That's right.
proposals. But this one's a tiny amount of water in the scheme of things, and it's had the pushback already. These others, that's the elephant. I mean, this is not where, we couldn't do just this project and be deemed successful here. If we end up doing a desal project and it works, we've done our job. I'll take the heat for something that really matters to us. I just don't think it's worth it to take all the heat and undermine our credibility for other projects that are the real success stories for us.
Without,
I'm sorry, it's a matter of degree, is that, and Tim's exactly right, is the whole renewable thing, the brine discharge and the harm, perceived harm on the those are more of a, to me, more of a balanced debate. And you've got the extremists on both sides, but there are both sides on that. On this one, this seems flagrant, a flagrant violation of the right thing to do, if you want to put it that way. It just yeah, yeah. Well, everybody's line is maybe in a little bit of a different place. I probably shouldn't go here, but I can't help it.
I have a very gray area here.
It is. Well, it's a different gray area than that gray area. I tend to agree with you philosophically, Tim, but I'm now kind of thinking of it more politically. But earlier we were talking about whether or not this committee has should just allow the other two board members to weigh in on this, and certainly they have the same vote that we have, and we all can consider doing one thing here and either change our mind or have the same mindset and do something completely different as far as our vote as a board member next week. But when I think about if we bring this project forward, this Cadiz project forward, and even with all the admonitions that we've received about don't pay attention to all the stuff that you got, those people are just guessing at what it is that you're to consider, and we need to do our own job and all of that. I think it's more likely than not that our non-committee member board members will feel like they have to say no. And so this is another one of these optics and consideration type of things. So if that's the case, then shame on us for bringing it to them. Because we're the ones that are supposed to do the hard work and make the right decisions without kind of putting it all in. Could it still pass? If the rest of us vote yes because we think we should, and they're freaked out by that, but still, I think where we go with this one with respect to our board kind of will put them in a bad place that does not reflect well on us as a committee. Pete, we haven't heard from you.
I've just been soaking it all in. It's a really tough one, but I am on the side of making the tough calls now as opposed to punting it. And I'm struggling personally with the fact that of the various committee members, I'm probably the least familiar with the specifics of the water. My expertise tends more towards technology and finance, but I'm trying really hard to keep my mouth shut when I don't have the necessary expertise, but at the same time, soak up and absorb all the wisdom that's being spoken here right now. But in terms of just the political dynamics and the realities of what a committee is supposed to do, I don't think that our job is to rubber stamp and to kick upstairs. I do think that we're supposed to be exercising judgment here. And so I'm trying really hard to do that without making myself look like a fool by asking questions that, probably I should already know.
If I might offer, not as to influence, but as just a point of perspective, because we had the initial discussion about AFC and their portfolio approach, and to remember that while the committee's considering EPCOR as individual contracts, that their proposal was based on a portfolio approach. One of the elements of the Cadiz project is the time scale of availability to water. And there's a recognition on their part that this was their fast water, with water available. I don't remember the exact time, 2028 or so, something like that, I think was the timeline, right? So I think there's, again, not to influence, but offer perspective as to what part of their thought process had been perhaps in considering their portfolio approach was the ability to stagger bringing various water sources online.
Not that far.
Tim's hand is up.
Tim's hand's up there.
Fair comment. What I'll add to that is two opinions. One, I don't know of any meaningful faster of Cadiz versus the other, one we haven't talked about yet with the groundwater augmentation piece. I think you could almost put those on the same timeline from the same from the same group. It's just Cadiz is a specific thing they've been working on for 15 years and they threw it into the mix. I also think back to number one, there's elements of that that could probably come to fruition fairly quick. And then my third point is, unless you've heard different from off takers, I don't know that anybody's banging for water by 2028 necessarily. If they are, that would be good for this committee to know, but I don't know that there's a meaningful difference between water in 4 years and water in 8 years, or water in 6 years, or water. When you get past 10, yes, but I don't know that we're that desperate for that fast if we're not comfortable with that solution.
I think that is an accurate assessment, Tim. And if you remember in our needs assessment, the number that was developed, that 100,000 to 500,000 number, was a time frame of 10 to 15 years. That was developed, I think, against a significantly different Colorado River background. And we may have off-takers who are saying after January, no, I do need water in 4 years. I don't think we're hearing that right now, though. And I don't think they're ready to pay for it in 4 years, which is probably the more accurate consideration.
Mr. Chair, can I?
Yes, sir.
Following up on what Joe said, we get to have other considerations. This is the smallest of the projects too.
Yeah.
And they've been at it a long time, probably need us less. Some of these others, I think, can't really happen without us. And these guys, kind of my feeling is they need us less. It can be really politically disadvantageous for us to be involved with it. And I'd let them be on their own.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question. Any of the committee members be seriously disappointed if they didn't have a chance to vote on this project that we've been discussing at the board meeting next week? Okay. Let's move on to number 4. Core Water Innovation Partners, other water sources. So this one is the let's capture the peak runoff and things like that in California and store it underground, and then exchange that for water or direct delivery. So we'll start with the beginning question that we've been asking, which is, does anyone have any unresolved concerns or discomfort about the conclusion of the evaluation team that this project meets the requirements of the solicitation? Question number 2, does any of the committee members have any mitigating factors or outside influences, or we'll call it the number 18, any other considerations that might be relevant to WIFA that would be a reason to overturn or modify the recommendation of the committee?
My head always goes straight to political headlines and things like that. And I think it's a double-edged sword. It's probably a positive and a negative all at the same time. But I kind of like how there's projects in California that we are identifying as, let's go do that. But that also, to an earlier point, in a time when we're trying to partner, we have to partner with California, sort of that poke of the eye also may be a bad thing, but it's always good politics in Arizona to poke California's eye, but it's also bad politics at the same time, if that makes sense. But those are the type of things I thought about throughout the whole presentations.
There's California, and then there's California. And those districts in California that are having groundwater subsidence are desperately trying to find money to do it, and they're not getting help from the feds.
Yep.
that they
That's
want.
right.
They're not getting help
There
from
you
the
are.
state that they want.
Yeah.
So we would be the knight in shining armor on that one. The night that you were looking for it, this is the one. For that. So I mean, and that may be just a sliver of time when that is true.
Sure.
Right.
So this is in my opinion, a big win-win as far as compared to some of the other projects, as far as partnerships or cross-boundary relationships that have cut both ways.
Tim has his hand up.
Tim has his hand up. Yeah, I know, Tim, you tried to say something. You have to put your hand up.
That's okay.
You're really good at it, yeah.
You, I think you were asking for things against, and now you've said things for, so I'll say the things for. I agree. This one is a winner, potentially, in my opinion. It is a partnership approach, and I don't think it pokes eyes. I think it more builds on the potential for those who have money helping out those that have and need water in a way that it's not that different than in Arizona when you have municipalities working with ag districts to try to solve problems, which we've done under DCP in a number of different ways. So I don't view this one the same way as the previous one at all. And I also know the hydrology on it can work very sustainably and reliably.
Anything else on this one that anybody needs to say before we move on to number 5? Okay, number 5 or 5E.
Remind me geographically where we're at. I'm trying to see maps
On number
on this,
the last one?
Sierra Nevada is above the San Joaquin Valley.
Well, it's in the Central Valley, yeah.
Several
Central Valley.
potential
Yeah,
locations.
Central
are-
Valley.
Yeah.
And some of those districts with the groundwater problem are kind of over on the eastern side of that valley down to the lower part.
It's one that said they had a lot of water.
Tim had the
Just
map up
showing
there,
you.
so. There you go.
There he
There it
is.
is. I was trying to-
Yeah.
Can you keep it
Okay.
there for a while?
All right, you got it.
I'm a slow reader, dude.
Burned onto our retinas.
Okay.
Okay.
Tijuana.
5E, Core Water Innovation Partners Wastewater Reclamation. So this is the one, southern San Diego area wastewater treatment plant, would be cleaned up, sent to Tijuana in exchange for Tijuana's Colorado River water, which is presently going through their dilapidated conveyance system. And just to remind everybody, this one had the second highest score among these 5 from the committee. So question number 1 again, does anyone have an unresolved discomfort or uncertainty, questions about the conclusion that the evaluation team drew on this project satisfying the requirements of the solicitation?
No, I don't have any problems with it, but the only question I have, this wastewater reclamation was gonna be a trade-off with Mexico for Colorado River water, is that right?
Treated wastewater was going to go to Tijuana, and Tijuana was going to, and that would be exchanged for
And
Tijuana.
they were gonna clean it
Colorado
more
River
for
water.
potable water.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, and we take, less would go into
Yeah.
the cost.
That's a good.
And then there's side benefits about discharge.
That's a good one.
So question number 2, I'm not hearing any on question 1. So on question number 2, are there any outside, item 18, other things that might be important to WIFA that we should consider to push back on the committee's recommendation in any way? I don't see. I think this project is a winner. It's like the one we just discussed. It's in my mind a clear win-win for the parties involved. And the sooner we get there, the better off we are.
and I'm assuming the Southern California parties would be all for it. I don't remember hearing much on that side.
They briefly addressed that. I think the team did when they were talking about San Diego County Water
Yeah.
Authority having to serve
Extra water.
They have extra water now, and they're trying to find ways.
Right.
And this would alleviate that a little bit, because they're trying to juggle the balls between having available water from the Bud Lewis recycling plant and then nowhere to put this treated wastewater right now. So I don't know what they're doing with it now.
Yeah.
Most of that will feed the Baja, won't it? Isn't the most of that water feed that Baja?
So it's going in the ocean.
Yeah, it's in the ocean.
And the potable water, most of that potable water is gonna take care of the Baja down the peninsula there, right?
Tijuana.
And around Tijuana.
Well, just Tijuana down through that.
Yeah, for whatever municipal use that they would need that for, as far as it can go. You know, as much as we can, I would assume, as much as we can get out of that, it would be, the exchange would be capped by either how much Colorado River water Tijuana has, or how much they need,
Yeah.
whichever number is lower. Probably.
Makes sense.
Okay,
I know the senator from Mexico.
Staff, do you have enough direction from the committee?
I will reiterate the instructions I think I've heard, to be perfectly clear. So, what I have heard today is that the committee's instructions would be to advance 5A, Acciona Fengate, for ocean water, 5B, EPCOR Water Innovations Ocean Water, 5C, EPCOR Water Innovations Partners Other Water Sources, and 5E, EPCOR Water Innovations Partner Wastewater Reclamation. Under the instructions, as I understand them, 5D, EPCOR Water Innovation Partners Surface Water, aka the Cadiz project, would not receive a recommendation to move forward. Specific concerns for the record, I think, were political concerns, categorization under the solicitation concerns, water sustainability concerns, amongst the others that were heard here. Is there anyone who wants to add any considerations to that record? Anything I missed here? If not, those are the instructions that if you go into public session and if you disagree with those instructions, of course, you can vote no. If you agree, you can vote yes. The motion would be to authorize staff to proceed as instructed in executive session. Again, this executive session will become public upon the conclusion of the procurement, so it's a limited confidentiality as well. And staff would take every measure to keep this as clean as possible to the board within the constructs of the open meeting law, which would mean, at a bare minimum, you're agendizing things 24 hours in advance. There's potentially a world where you could agendize it as acting on the recommendations of the committee without agendizing it, but I think we'll probably lean towards specifically agendizing them for a robust discussion at the board publicly.
I think our decision is, my preference would be, our decision is option 1 or option 2 as far as what we do going out of here. And I prefer to then, our work is done, and then it's up to our director and our general counsel and the chairman of the board to decide what they do on the board agenda.
I
We can
agree,
handle that.
absolutely.
Anyone uncomfortable with option 1? Because that's what you're going to hear out there, I think. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you.
219.
See you on Zoom.